Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Vihari. Hare Krishna, the devotees, welcome back to Books Are the Basis, another interview with one of our senior devotees about the importance of reading Srila Prabhupada's books regularly. This is organized by the ISKCON Ministry of Education. And today we have with us His Holiness Bhakti, Anugraha, Janardana Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for taking time. I know you're a very busy person. Thank you for taking time for this interview. Wonderful. His Holiness Bhakti Anugraha Janardana Maharaj is originally from the Philippines, came actually in contact with Krishna consciousness as early as 1977, and joined ISKCON in 1984 in Canada, Toronto, where he spent the first 13 years in his Krishna consciousness. He served many different ways as a book distributor, also temple secretary, and for some time as a temple president. Then in the late 90s, Maharaj moved to India, spent 5 years in Delhi, and for now almost more than 20 years lives in Vrindavan at Krishna Balaram Mandir, has served in many different capacities as a general manager, the brahmachari leader, and in the year 2013 received sannyas from His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj. And since December last year, Maharaj also serves as the temple president of Krishna Balaram Mandir. So thank you so much. It's wonderful to have you. Hare Krishna. So I'm curious. You came in touch 1977. That's a long time ago. So how do you remember? How did you got in touch with Prabhupada's books? What was the first encounter with Prabhupada's books?
Well, I was about 14 or 15 years old at that time. That was my last year in high school in the Philippines, in LaSalle. And I was always very much interested in reading books, which is not of the ordinary, so to speak, like metaphysics or more spiritual. And therefore, I've been searching and searching. And then one day, I went to this, what you may call a head shop, or where the hippies will go and buy books. 77 means like, that's still the hippie movement. Yeah. And I saw Back to Godhead magazine. And I was very attracted immediately that I bought it. This is in Manila. And I also bought 2 books, Easy Journey to Other Planets and Perfection of Yoga. That means I did not meet any devotees at all. That means Prabhupada's books are so powerful that even though they are there in a, you may say, a shop, which they sell incense and clothing and so on, is very attractive. That I bought this 3 you may say publications. The Back to Godhead magazine, maybe a couple Back to Godhead magazines, Easy Journey to Other Planets, and The Perfection of Yoga. That's the first time.
Do you remember, Maharaj, when you read The Easy Journey to Other Planets, something that you remember, something that kind of...
I cannot really figure it out because it's very new. What attracted me the most in this book, actually, the message is not of this world. I can tell immediately that it is something extraordinary, something that it gives you chills from inside. Like, you know, it provides some information that, even though it's beyond my reach, but I can tell that there is something very special in these books. It took me a while to figure out what's inside the books, Not until I met the devotees of the Lord in Toronto, where they spoke more about this and explained more about these books. Yes. Then what I read in these publications is that they're always mentioning Bhagavad-Gita. So I was curious, what is this Bhagavad-Gita? So I asked my mother for some money to buy the Bhagavad-Gita through mail. So she gave me the money, and I went to the bank. I bought some bank note or cashier's note or something. So I sent it to the address mentioned in the Philippines, but I did not receive the Bhagavad-Gita. That was 1977. And I moved to Toronto. I moved to Canada in 1980, before turning into 18 years old. And then I took with me the Bhagavad-Gita, the Back to Godhead magazines, and these two books. And then I read there is a place in Watsika Avenue in Los Angeles that you can buy the Bhagavad-Gita. So I did not get the Bhagavad-Gita not until 1980, the winter of 1980. And the Bhagavad-Gita arrived this time. So I started reading the Bhagavad-Gita, and I cannot figure out again who are these names, who they are, what's going on here. I know again there is something good about this, but then when I went to college in the library in Newfoundland, I discovered that there is so many books of Srila Prabhupada, and I borrowed especially the Sri Ishopanishad. And I started reading that also. Yes. In the beginning, it just doesn't click. It doesn't. But I know that this is the book that will give me so much knowledge that I can use in my everyday life.
It's interesting how you just from the beginning felt that this is something from a different place, from a different world.
Yeah. That's right. It's something special in Prabhupada's books, definitely.
So then you got in touch with the devotees and joined the ashram there in Toronto at some point?
Yeah, well, after my university, I did engineering. So I moved from Newfoundland to Toronto. And I was doing some summer job. And then again, I opened my book. Then I Back to Godhead magazine, and I saw that there is a temple in Toronto, Avenue Road. So I visited one night, and the first thing that I experienced, the smell, the incense, and the atmosphere is so sublime, so peaceful. And I met one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, Vishnu Priya Mataji. I can still remember her. She gave me some halava, the best that I tasted, food, prasadam. And then she gave me more books. She, gave me more books, and I gave donation. And then that's it. I started to come every weekends, every Sundays, and eventually I moved to the temple. I figured out that why spend money outside paying rent, and I asked the temple president at that time if I can just stay at the temple and pay rent or give donation, and I did. He allowed me, and then every day before going to work, because I go to work real early, I would write the verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam classes because I'm a draftsman also. So I'm good. So every day before going to work, I will be just meditating on the sloka. That gives me a lot of purification in such a way that even at work, I was always thinking of what the devotees are doing at the temple. So that's how it goes. Then I moved to the goal eventually. And the first book that I really wanted to finish is Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. That gave me a lot of inspiration, definitely, of the life of Srila Prabhupada.
That's an interesting point. We hear about the importance of reading Prabhupada's books, but to hear about Prabhupada, to understand the author better, is also a way to increase our enthusiasm for reading. Right?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So, Maharaj, maybe just in general, what do you think is the benefit of reading regularly for devotees?
Well, for me, reading Srila Prabhupada's books every day it makes me more focused on what is the goal of life. It gives me a determination to keep going the process of doing this devotional service, because life out there is really miserable. And Srila Prabhupada's books, they're like an oasis in the desert. It gives you life. It gives you energy. It gives you inspiration. It gives you so much hope that, yes, hopefully that this will be my last birth, that I will not take birth again in this next life and go back to Godhead, which is the goal of human form of life. It is essential for those who wish to go back home, back to Godhead, to read Prabhupada's books every day. There is no comparison out there compared to Srila Prabhupada's books, who dedicated and sacrificed his life to give this knowledge for all of us, to imbibe the knowledge there and practice what we've read, apply this knowledge for our everyday activities, to understand that we're not this body, we're spirit, soul. Krishna is God, and I'm meant to serve him. And the goal of life is to go back home, back to Godhead. And by reading Srila Prabhupada's books, this is for certain that it'll purify our heart and we will reach our goal.
Yeah, that's a powerful point, to remember what actually we're doing, what's the goal of life, and Prabhupada helps us to remind us.
Yes.
That also seems to be like seeing the world through the Shastras, seeing the world in a different way, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
Do you have some personal experience on this Shastra Chakshu? How do we start to see the world differently by reading Prabhupada's books?
Yes, by reading Srila Prabhupada's books, the knowledge that it gives me is that I'm able to relate to everyone as much as possible on a spiritual platform. I don't see, oh, he's white, he's red, he's black, he's Christian, he's Hindu, he's Muslim. It's like, you know, where I am right now in Vrindavan, I don't see this. Every day I meet so many devotees. I interact with the devotees and general people, but I don't see them in the bodily platform. I see them as actually living entities, jivas, and I treat everyone as much as possible equally. I'm able to understand, and somehow very subtle in a spiritual platform, that yes, I have to relate to them in such a way that actually they're all devotees of the Supreme Lord, and I'm here to help them also as much as I can to reach that goal, to become Krishna conscious. So every day I use whatever I've read from Srila Prabhupada's books to relate to everyone whom I meet and those whom I have relationship and newcomers, in a way that, yes, they're all jivas like me and we're all lost in this material world. So please, as much as possible, you also read Prabhupada's books so that you'll be able to reach the final destination, to go back home, back to Godhead.
So that Samadarshina, this equal vision, is kind of manifested through the reading process.
Yeah. I can feel it. I can understand how Srila Prabhupada, how he wrote these books just to see our conditioning, and I can see others' conditioning, and I can relate to them in that way, and they be able to relate to me in that way as well, because I respect them in such a way, whoever they are, whatever they are, wherever they're coming from. And not many, I'm sorry to say, but not many devotees can relate in that way. Even, like those who are, you may say, really not very, you may say normal, because they're having problems with their mind or emotionally. Others cannot relate with them. But somehow they're so attached to me because I can relate to them according to their level. I can talk to them and they become attached to me, and then, we'll be able to talk and able to lift them up slowly into the platform where they can understand that Krishna consciousness actually is very, very important for their life. Compared to others that they don't want to do anything with them. And for me, they're like, I attract this kind of people because they can see that I can relate with them according to their level because of the knowledge that I get from the books of Srila Prabhupada.
I think that's a beautiful example of applied spiritual knowledge. Like Srila Prabhupada speaks in his purpose about the spiritual techniques that he wants to teach us, and to, that just by respecting other living entities, they actually can feel there's a different way.
Yeah.
Beautiful, yeah. Beautiful. Maharaj, what do you think, how would be ISKCON a different institution if actually everyone would read more often in Prabhupada's books? Would it have had an effect on the institution as such?
Well, not just it will have an effect to the whole institution, but I think it'll have an effect to the whole world. Because purity is the force. And where do we get purification from? From hearing and chanting. For most of the classes that I give, I always emphasize to chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra attentively and read Srila Prabhupada's books every day. This is part of the package that Prabhupada gave us to purify ourselves. It's like we have the perfect diet, prasadam. We have the perfect mantra, the holy name, and we have the perfect literatures, Prabhupada's books. If we combine all of this, then we'll become more inspired, we'll become more and more enthusiastic. And as Prabhupada says, I will live eternally in my books. As long as my books is there, I will live eternally. So as long as we're reading Srila Prabhupada's books, ISKCON will keep on thriving. It'll keep on climbing and becoming more and more widespread all over the world. Many, many more will become devotees. And of course, as Prabhupada says, boiling the milk. So we have to boil the milk. That means we can have many, many devotees in the world, but if we don't read Srila Prabhupada's books, we can just say Haribol after some time. After some time, there's no more Haribol. It'll be like only sentimental. It's a fanaticism. We have to know Prabhupada's books because this will be the law book for the next 10,000 years. Prabhupada's books are so powerful. It'll affect everyone in such a way, because if we read, Prabhupada says we can conquer the whole world in 18 days. But if we don't read Prabhupada's books, and that's what Prabhupada says, what is the use of you selling the books? And then if they ask you, do you read my books? He says, no, sir, we just distribute them. So how do you convince? How be able to spread Krishna consciousness? You just sell the books, you don't read. Then what is the use for me to buy these books? What is the use for me to read these books? So we have to be convinced. And in order to be convinced about Krishna consciousness, is in Srila Prabhupada's books. How can you convince others if you're not convinced? And you can only be convinced if you saturate your life day after day after day, read Prabhupada's books. And this is one of his instructions, to read at least 1 hour his books every day.
Mm-hmm. I like, Maharaj, how you mentioned the package. It belongs together. Of course, at the time of initiation, we promise 4 regulated principles and chanting 16 rounds. We don't promise reading 1 hour.
But now it is included. And read Prabhupada's books every day. I've heard it many times. My Guru Maharaj and other gurus in ISKCON at present, they always say, and read Prabhupada's books every day. This is like the 5th regulative principle.
Yes. You also stressed boiling the milk, which of course is a famous term by Prabhupada, boiling the milk, going deeper, understanding deeper. And you also mentioned about how Prabhupada made this statement that he will live forever in his books. Could you share some realization on that? Like, how do you personally meet Prabhupada? And how do we access such a realization? How do we meet Prabhupada?
Prabhupada is present in his books. Whenever we open his books, like the Bhagavad-Gita, the Bhagavad-Gita is like the everyday book for us. Like for the Muslims, they have the Quran. For the Jews, they have the Torah, and so on. And for the followers of Sanatan Dharma, Bhagavad-Gita ultimately is a universal book. So Prabhupada is present in his books. Whenever you're in doubt, whenever you are, let's say, distressed, or whenever you are down, you just open Prabhupada's books, read Prabhupada's purport, and you'll become enlivened. It's like Prabhupada speaking to you directly. You can feel his presence because the Vani, or the instruction of the spiritual master and our founder Acharya of this Hare Krishna movement is there. And as Prabhupada says, everything that you need to know is in my books. You don't have to search anywhere. Everything is included in there, from the most basic to the highest level of Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada has given it to us. So if we read Srila Prabhupada's books, actually we're having his association, which means he lives by his instructions and the followers live with him. This is as long as Kali Yuga is not really in the highest peak, because Prabhupada says our movement will go on for the next 10,000 years, which means the books, the Prabhupada's teachings will be there intact. Because after 10,000 years, that's it. It will be so degraded, the whole world will be completely in chaos. Even at present, it's in chaos already. And our only solace is by reading Srila Prabhupada's books. Prabhupada is there. And he will live as long as his books is being there, being distributed, being read by the members of our society.
It seems to be quite an open secret, in a sense, that Prabhupada lives in his books. But for some reason, many devotees may not take advantage of this opportunity, we can say. So we spoke about the importance so far. Maybe we can talk a little bit about some practical tips. How can we help devotees to that they find inspiration to read, to meet Prabhupada in his books? What would you say? How could devotees overcome some obstacles? Like some devotees say they don't have time, or they have a lack of taste. How do
in the beginning, it is like that. That's what we mentioned earlier. How in the beginning, I really don't know what's going on. I don't have any clue what's going on, and to read Prabhupada's books. But so just like medicine, in the beginning, we have to take the medicine. Anyway, it may taste bitter. We are lazy. In spiritual life, we are lazy. We don't want to perform any austerities. But we have to push ourselves. And if the spiritual master and Srila Prabhupada, the present spiritual masters, and Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, has given this specific instruction to read every day, this is for our own benefit. The benefit that we will gain by reading Srila Prabhupada's books will be eternally credited into our spiritual bank account. The more we read, the more we become purified. The more we become purified, the more we want to tell others about the same knowledge that we have received from Srila Prabhupada's books. So in the beginning is not so really nectarine, but the more we read, then actually it'll make sense why we are doing what we are doing. It's like we can do service all the time, many different kinds of activities in Krishna consciousness. But if we don't hear and chant, if we don't read Srila Prabhupada's books, hearing means reading also Srila Prabhupada's books. So we will not last, and we will fall into Maya. We want to be always on the platform where we will not be attracted by Maya. As Prabhupada says, if you always keep in touch with Krishna, then there is no room for Maya. And if we always keep in touch with reading Srila Prabhupada's books, there's no way Maya will creep in. The problem here is we are lazy. We don't want to read, and chanting will just like it's dragging also. If we read along, Prabhupada says, along with chanting, one should also read my books. Because the more we read Srila Prabhupada's books, then we will become inspired chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And the more we chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, then the more we will also relish Srila Prabhupada's books. It's like they go together, like a tandem. You cannot do the other without the other one. If you just do the other one, you will not be able to last that long in Krishna consciousness. One will be attracted by Maya, and then we will go back again to where we came from, back to square one.
It's interesting. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also mentioned about Hari Kirtan and Hari Katha, how they are actually going together. So you just emphasize this point that how the hearing and the chanting, they go together. And basically that this is what helps us to maintain our Krishna consciousness, to go on. Yeah. Right. You also raised another point that you said that the more we read, the more we also feel inspired to share the knowledge with others. So in that sense, we can also say that reading and preaching also is related in that sense, right?
Right.
Because
you will not be content to keep it to yourself. Bhakti flow is overflowing. The knowledge that we have, also if you don't distribute the knowledge that we receive from Srila Prabhupada's books, if we don't give to others, if we don't distribute them, then we will lose it. Prabhupada gave an example. It's like a pot full of water, and if there's a small hole in there, eventually it'll be finished. It'll be empty. So knowledge has to be distributed also as well. It's not just good enough. You keep reading and you keep it to yourself. You should also give to others. Then Krishna will give you more knowledge to understand him. Tesam satatam yuktanam bhajatam piti purvaka. Dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayantite. He'll give us the knowledge more, how we'll be able to understand him if we converse about Krishna consciousness, giving others Krishna consciousness.
Of course, when we preach, then we want to share the philosophy, and maybe you like share some practical tips on how to study or how to prepare a lecture. I mean, you're as a sannyasi and preacher, you must give so many lectures every day, or many a week. So, any advice how to prepare lectures, how to study?
What I do is that, of course, there is the database or Vanipedia.
Which is
so if there, every time before giving class or lecture, I will always ask, what do you want me to speak on? Is there any special topic you want me to say, to talk about? And then if they give me some kind of like an indication or a topic, then I will do some research from Prabhupada's database. I will type it, whatever the main, let's say a sloka, and then what is the main topic or subtopic, I will write it down and do some research on that one. And in this way, I will make notes. But sometimes they're like so much, it's overwhelming. You'll not be able to speak on all of those. So I just choose the best one, which is like easier. It's easier to understand. It's more in such a way that they can relate to. And based from what I've read from Srila Prabhupada's books, then I will try to explain it in my own words as well, my realization, based also from what I've observed in day-to-day surroundings and what's going on in the whole world. It becomes like topical in that way. Then it becomes practical, how Prabhupada's books, the knowledge that we receive from Srila Prabhupada's book can be applied. It's like, during the pandemic time, right? How many times do we have to go into Zoom and reach different corners of the world? And we use this for preaching, whatever we understand from Srila Prabhupada's books, and we observe from our surroundings what's going on in the whole world. Practical means, it's like sometimes they ask, Maharaj, how can you balance your life, material and spiritual? It's not possible to balance. You have to be 51% spiritual and 49% material. Then you'll be okay. Let's say 50-50. You have to spend more time in reading and chanting and spiritual activities. Then you'll be able to balance and you'll be able to survive in this world. There's no such thing as 50-50. That's my realization from Srila Prabhupada's books. More emphasis on spiritual activities. And if you cannot hear, if you cannot read, Srila Prabhupada's books also, they are there in audio books. That is almost the same, but it's not the same though when you feel the books in your hands and really lift the pages. Because our hearing also, you may hear, but you're not there. But then when I read also, most of the times I will also recite aloud.
Yeah.
Because most of the times, if I just read by my eyes, then I'll be tired after some time, and then I'll fall asleep, and then I will forget what I've read. But if we read and recite also what we are reading, then it's double. You are seeing with your eyes, and also you are hearing also the sound vibration. And that sound vibration is not material. It is completely spiritual. So double, two things happening at the same time, so double purification going on. Yes?
Yeah, maybe the last question in regard to, I mean, you already mentioned about how to apply, how to make sure that we apply the knowledge that we received. You already gave some examples. Any other thoughts?
It will show, I'm telling you. If actually we are reading attentively, chanting attentively, and doing everything without any ulterior motive, it will show how when we relate to other devotees, we're like not in a mode of passion. That may happen after some, from time to time, because we're still conditioning. Based from reading Srila Prabhupada's books, actually it puts me in a mode of goodness, at least. So I change a lot, you may say. Before I'm like, very passionate, and, I get angry very easily. I get, very intolerant. But as the more I spend time, because as you said, I give a lot of classes, then I read more. If I don't read, what shall I say? I got nothing to say. I no knowledge there. But from what we've read from Srila Prabhupada's books, I repeatedly, it just put me in the mode of goodness, at least. And that is the start of spiritual life. I'll be able to relate again, because most of the times it's my interaction with the devotees. And if I'm in a mode of passion, then I will not be able to think properly. I'll not be able to make decision properly. So the result of reading Srila Prabhupada's books, it'll put you at least in the mode of goodness, going to the pure goodness. And I can tell the devotees, if they're really reading Srila Prabhupada's books, then I can tell they're chanting nicely, more attentively, and how they relate to the devotees, I can tell if this process is really working or not.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. It was wonderful to hear from you. I think it's very inspiring as a sannyasi taking up such responsibility as a temple president in Vrindavan, which is such an important temple.
We have three presidents in Vrindavan. Vrindavan is such a complex place. It's very intense here. And days go fast, very, very fast. We just woke up, I wake up early. And then now it's later at 12 o'clock. It's so fast. And then later on, we're going to sleep again the next day. But we have to be absorbed. If we don't read, definitely we're not going to last. I will not have this kind of, enthusiasm. I will not have this kind of energy. If I don't go to the Bhagavatam class in the morning, I will not have so much energy for the whole day. As Prabhupada says, sandwich, right? Sandwich program. Bhagavatam in the morning program, that includes the Bhagavatam, Mangalarti, Tulsi, Guru Puja, and Bhagavatam. And then in the evening here, in Krishna Balaram Mandir, we have also Bhagavad-Gita classes. 2, in Hindi and in English. And during the day, we're just trying to absorb ourselves in any practical service. If we don't have these programs and just do service, no hearing and chanting, reading Srila Prabhupada's books, no way. We will not last. I mean, we're all volunteers here. No one is getting paid here. If this is in the material world, I mean, if you don't give me anything, I will not move. But no, we're doing this especially for the pleasure of their lordships and Srila Prabhupada and the devotees. Is that okay?
Yeah, wonderful concluding words. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to participate in this program of yours. And I hope that it'll inspire others also to read Srila Prabhupada's books every day. Books are the basis. No other. The materialist says books are the basis. Box. No.
Books.
In ISKCON, books are the basis. Without any foundation, we'll be shaky. That's why we're so strong. Because of Srila Prabhupada's books. That's why before coming to America, he wanted to have something to carry with him so that he'll have so much credit. Okay? Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Srila Prabhupada Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.